the L at Lake and LaSalle, and every time the L comes by, they slow it to almost a snail's pace, and there are people, including the L operator, standing at the window, taking photos. They're up on the platform. They're waiting for the L, doing the same, trying to get a glimpse of the action. But I have to tell you, we found the best seat in the house. And Chris, if you want to swing up across the street at the 203 LaSalle building, there is about a handful of people we're estimating about on the 12th or 13th floor that have been hanging out that window, throwing some ticker tape down. And if you swing down, Chris, you can see about the second or third level up, there's a handful of beer cans, which just kind of shows that the partying has yet to stop from this World Series championship. And Chris, if you want to come on back down here, they've been sticking their heads out. We've been watching them, and they have a great view of the city. And a lot of the kids here today, I don't think, have any clue or don't realize how lucky they are to be participating in something like a World Championship and the celebration that we've seen here. And Nico, are you today?
No.
No, you belong here.
Yeah.
No place to be.
Because I'm a true fan, yeah.
You are a true fan.
Yeah.
How old are you?
12.
12. So you've been waiting 12 long years for this.
Yeah.
You know how lucky you are? How lucky you are to experience a World Series with your favorite team?
I feel happy.
You should feel happy, and I think a lot of other people, Nico, are right there with you. We've got 3 generations of White Sox fans here. We've got Bob, Brian, and Kyle. And Bob, you said this was a history lesson out here today, quote unquote.
We have my son and his son and 2 of his neighbors with their sons. And the three boys are getting their history lesson, and they have to write a summary of the day.
He's not missing school. He's in history class all day today.
Oh, that's your story, and you're sticking to it. I like. How excited are you to be here today?
What do you think?
I'm very excited.
You should be, and you have been such a long-time fan. You've waited a long...
10.
Say it again.
3 score and 10.
3 score and 10. All right, thanks very much for your time, Bob. I'm going to send things back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Gary, thanks very much. And I'm very glad I didn't take the L to work today if all of the operators are taking pictures as they go by. But what a treat to be riding around the loop and seeing all the fans. And clearly, with traffic blocked off, it is the only way to go around the actual loop. Our studios, of course, are on the other side of the river, just across from LaSalle and Wacker in the apparel center here. And we now see the motorcade steadily chugging through an area. I believe there's the Merchandise Mart just opposite the rally point, and now the motorcade is, I believe that's on Ashland, is it not?
I think they just went through Pilsen. I might be wrong, but I was just going to comment on the grandfather there. I wouldn't want to be his grandson because I'd be studying all the time if this is a history lesson. It's a good way to mask it, saying this is a history lesson, and kind of stumped me with the 3 score and 10. So,
yeah, do the math on that. Was that 70-some years? Yeah, you start using old terms like score, and you know, I think runs coming across the plate when I hear score. Pat Boyle, what's happening around you?
Well, we're singing a little "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." We got the signs out. My favorite thus far: bloody socks, a monkey, and some bees don't win a World Series.
There you go.
I love, you know, I love the way some of the folks are spinning this. This is a history lesson, so who needs school? This is a history lesson, 88 years in the making, and finally they are here on this day. And you know, Bill Melton was talking about, you know, dismantling the team. I think this is the ultimate negotiations ploy. Kenny Williams should have all the contracts sitting on the stage. You talk about the ego boost for all these guys as they're coming through in their double-decker buses, making their way to the podium. He should have them all lined up and just say, sign on the dotted line right here and take care of business.
Well, you know, Pat, Paul Konerko is one of the players who is scheduled to address the media, the fans, and the media too, but more importantly, the fans out there at the rally, along with Jermaine Dye and Mark Burley, Jose Contreras, A.J. Pierzynski, Joe Credy, all scheduled to speak. At least that's the list of guys who are here as this party now goes on past noon, and the players are still motoring towards downtown, where again they will then exit these buses and get into cars and floats and make the trip down LaSalle Street. I remember, Bill, when the Bears did this, they weren't able to keep the throngs off the streets, and the buses actually kind of got stopped amidst the crowd, and the players had to come out onto the top. It was a very cold day 20 years ago, and the players had to actually get out and get on top of the buses. So at least here, with it being warmer, and they can use these open-air double-decker buses, the players can have the view, and the fans can have the view of the players.
Well, you know, when you talk about the Bears, the 85 Bears, and the, you know, everything that surrounded them, that's the one team in the city. We still have two baseball teams in the city, so it's hard to compare which is the grandest of all of it, winning the Super Bowl or basically winning the World Series. I mean, baseball's been around a lot longer, so I'll side with the history of baseball. We play 162 games plus a lot of postseason, and in football it's like 16 games, but what they did is they dominated. I think what both of these teams have done, whether it's the football, we go to the Bulls, the way Michael Jordan brought in 6 titles, that was dominance. I mean, they just dominated the postseason, I believe. And then when you talk about the 85 Bears, of course, I wasn't here. I was out in sunny California, but the 85 Bears dominated the NFL. I mean, then they dominated the postseason, the playoffs, and they dominated the Super Bowl. It's the same way with the White Sox. So you're going to have to put all three of these in the same category, because the White Sox did dominate the postseason, plus they swept the World Series. So when you talk about all three sports, and of course I was here my early times with the White Sox, the biggest sport in the city, much to your smiling, it would be the Blackhawks. I mean, the Blackhawks and Bobby Hull were really the story of Chicago. There wasn't the Bulls. You'd be lucky to get 1,500 people to 2,000 people at the stadium to watch the Chicago Bulls. It was all about baseball. The football teams were terrible. The Bears, it was just Papa Hallis all the time. That's all you ever heard, because the football teams were bad. The team in the city at that particular time I was here, in the 60s and the 70s, early 70s, was Stan Mikita, Bobby Hull, and the Blackhawks. I mean, that was the #1 sport in the city of Chicago.
Similar fan bases with the Blackhawks and the White Sox, and I think the other difference between, you know, football and baseball as to the size of the parades, baseball, it's been 88 years, and the Bears, when they won in 85, had won the NFL championship, beating the Giants in 1963. So that, even though the Bears are a unifying force and the baseball has north side, south side, the time difference makes this certainly feel like a very special occasion as they play that old Steam hit, "Na Na Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye." Pat, that's a song that we've been singing on the south side for years and years.
Absolutely. Nobody does it better than Nancy Faust. As people just hang outside of their office buildings here, you know, you were talking about the Chicago Bulls, and with all due respect to their organization, the Grant Park location for their celebrations, it doesn't even come close to this. You think about a team for the people, which certainly this White Sox team is, making their way through the neighborhoods. I think very symbolic of what this team means for the South Side. And then to come through the city in this grand fashion, I'd have to think anybody that wins a world championship now after the White Sox has to do it this way. Grant Park is beautiful. It's a great location, but nothing beats coming through the city and seeing ultimately a ticker tape parade. And I do find a little irony here, Josh, that you know, here we'll have this ticker tape parade, and it was coming after we defeated a city known for shredding documents for another reason.
Very good. Referring, of course, to the Enron scandal there in Houston, and the ticker tape is already floating, and I think we now just saw the motorcade actually turning onto Ashland off of Cermak. So I was a little hasty and gotten a little ahead of myself. So the route from here now on Ashland, they will head north to Harrison, and then east from Harrison, on Harrison to Halstead. So about a mile there from Ashland, in fact, exactly a mile from Ashland to Halstead, which will then take them into the loop on Jackson and on to LaSalle. Pat, where is that confetti that we saw coming from? I mean, can you tell us that?
Different locations along the parade route. As I look down right now, down LaSalle, I don't see any, just a few here and there scattering. But, you know, as we take different camera shots throughout this parade route, certain people are getting anxious and ready to dispose of the thousands and thousands of pounds of paper that will be poured upon this city as I guess the first official snow day in the city of Chicago comes on October 28th. Just an amazing day. It's a gorgeous afternoon, just after 12 noon here. 51 degrees in the heart of the city as we prepare for their arrival and the double-decker buses make their journey. Bill Melton, you said it, you're a little bit envious. I would have to think any professional athlete, anybody who's ever picked up a bat or ball, has to be envious of those gentlemen right now that are riding on those buses.
Well, Pat, you know, this is really what it's all about. I mean, we all dream. There's 30 teams that think the same way in spring training, and when you start this long journey through the summer, I mean, and again, it's only one team every year, but I mean, if that's what your objective was, and most athletes do set goals for themselves, the only way they are successful, and the reason they are so successful in what they do is because they do set goals. This happens to be one of them. Is it unachievable? No, but you never tell yourself until you're completely out of it, because every time you interview a ball player, you could be 20 games out with 21 games to go, and he's going to tell you, and he's going to believe in it. You know, we're not out of it yet. We're not mathematically eliminated. That's the only way, or a lot of ways, they build up the motivation, self-motivate themselves to get on the field. It takes a fan base. They have to self-motivate themselves. But until they're out of it, you'll never hear it, because this is what they see, this is what they feel, and this is what they want. And until they're out of it, you know, they're just going to talk very positive about everything. But if this is the ultimate goal, very few teams get to feel it. These guys right now have chills, I can tell you that.
And Bill, this is the beauty of sports. You know, it brings everybody together. It brings people working at the Board of Trade, working the hot dog stand, school children, folks that are 70 years waiting, that are long after their work years. It brings everybody together, and that's what a championship run does, a postseason run. We certainly saw it in the 90s with the Bulls, and we've certainly seen it in the last few weeks with the Chicago White Sox. It's a tremendous day. It's just, you're proud to be a Chicagoan when you can see everybody from every walk of life come together for one common goal, and that's to celebrate a group of individuals.
So almost everybody, Pat. I mean, there aren't a lot of Cubs fans out there, that's for sure. But from other demographics, I think you're okay with that.
Hey, you know what? I mean, on this day, I hope we don't hear much about that team, because this is about the Chicago White Sox. And I think, you know, if you talk to Derek Lee right now or any member of that team, I think they feel grateful for these guys, and they're proud that they know these guys. I know people have loyalties to certain sides of town, but if you can't tip your cap on this day to what this team has done and what it's really done for this city, I mean, we've been desperate for a winner in these parts since Michael Jordan left town. And you know, north side, south side come together. This team, I said it the other night from Houston, I think everybody can be proud of this team because of the way they play, the way they leave it on the field, and the egoless nature that they did it, which is uncommon, unparalleled in postseason play. Think back to this season. Did we ever have one of those big scandals, guys not talking to each other, pushing cameramen out of the way? That didn't happen with this team. They were led by their manager, and yes, in an orthodox manner, and it was fun to watch. But top to bottom, blue-collar guys that just love to play the game, that didn't talk about, you know, their ultimate goal. They had it in their heart. And finally, on this day, they will be able to express to us what they've been working for their entire life.
Yeah, Pat, this is really all about civic pride is really what it is. And when you talk about the players on the north side, they take appreciation in the fact of what it takes to achieve what these guys have done. Most athletes aren't jealous of each other. They might be jealous of maybe the coverage they're not getting when they're accomplishing something. I mean, they don't ask for coverage when you're not accomplishing something. When you are, you might see that, but the other athlete that loses out will generally look back with a lot of respect, thinking, boy, I remember in 2003 we almost got there, and how difficult it was and how hard it is to get back. That's what the athlete thinks, and that's exactly what I would assume the guys on the north side are thinking. They take appreciation of what these guys did as a team, because they know how hard it is to accomplish this, and they'll just leave it at that. They're all friends. They'll shake hands with each other anytime they'll see each other in bars or establishments. They'll say hello to each other. They all have the same thing in common. They're baseball players, and they're all there to do the same thing, and that's to win.
I've talked to a lot of the Cubs fans who are out there who have said, in trying to understand what they're trying to do with the White Sox dominating, rightfully so, the coverage for now, and what they've all said is they're just trying to get out of the way. They don't want to be bandwagon fans. They don't want to be the kind of guys who are in the White Sox fans' faces. They feel above that, but they just want to. There's no way for them to really attach to this team if they're going to be good fans. They want the White Sox and the White Sox fans to have their day, and they are certainly having it here as the Sox are now this motorcade on Harrison, moving towards Halstead, so about a mile and change away from the Board of Trade and the end of the motorcade, which will then become the ticker tape parade as they get into the cars and floats and really get to mingle among the throng there assembled on LaSalle. And what a treat these guys are in for when they get there. And we're looking down LaSalle and at some of the fans as well. And that's, is that Senator Durbin? Yeah, absolutely it is. And of course, all of the politicos will be there. We know that we've heard that Senator Barack Obama will be there. Of course, Mayor Daley will be there. And this is right in the heart of what they do. Mitch, is Senator Durbin near you? Can you see him from where you are?
Actually, I don't see any dignitaries from this location,
okay,
Randolph and LaSalle just yet. But, you know, you can tell that everyone's getting antsy and enjoying it. These guys have been out here. A lot of people's voices are getting sore, as well as the police are checking, making sure everybody's okay and doing a great job of that. And what we've seen a lot of is the cleanup crew, the streets and sanitation department. I asked a couple of the guys, said, how late are you working tonight? And they said they hope they're done by next Tuesday. But they are all on it, getting ready for this. They are all in good spirits. You know, you don't mind working it. It's a hard job to do, especially when you're going to have 20,000 pounds of paper on the ground. But for like what Bill said and for the city, they realize, I mean, they're just proud to be the national center of attention today in the sports world. You know, a lot of good things coming out of Chicago, people watching how this town handles itself. And so they don't mind taking part in helping up and cleaning up after this wonderful event. You know, we realize they'd be a little slow on their trek towards here. We're hopeful that in the next 20, 25 minutes that we will see him coming down. And then I'm sure you will hear guys like my man here. What's your name?
Kevin.
Like Kevin and his family cheer at the top of your lungs, right?
Yeah.
Kevin, how long you been a Sox fan?
4 years.
4 years. How old are you?
11.
What'd you do the other 7 years?
I don't know. I didn't follow baseball.
Kevin's a late bloomer, guys. You can't blame him for that. He's seen the light. He is now a White Sox fan, and he's there for the good times. What's your name, sweetheart? How long have you been a Sox fan?
Your whole life. My whole life.
More than 4 years? 5 years? She's got you beat, Kevin. She's a better Sox fan. Just having a good time at it. You know, it's fun for us as well with all the fans here. Just a little give and take and waiting to party. And there's our men. Like I said, they're working the streets, the sanitation crew all ready to roll. I may have to go out and help in a little while. I've been told that may be my responsibility for getting this prime location. Back to you guys.
You know, Josh, we were just talking when we saw Dick Durbin there, and we talk about government officials, how all of a sudden they come out during something like this. But I was really taken back about 6 or 8 years ago when I first came back here. You know, I was invited to the Nellie Fox Society luncheons all the time. This is when a lot of dignitaries were trying to get Nellie Fox into the Hall of Fame. And I can't remember all the names. Well, I know Pat Flynn is a huge White Sox fan. He's up in Springfield. But in the Nellie Fox Society, you had some of the most powerful Supreme Court judges in the land, and they were writing memos to court, and I'm thinking, my goodness, I'm sitting here at lunch, and I'm thinking, here we are with these Supreme Court justices, and they're nothing but baseball fans, and they're sitting there trying to write amendments and stuff why Nellie Fox should be in the Hall of Fame. And, you know, I'm thinking, wow, this is really where sports touch society, when you've got, you know, these guys are so clothed in their privacy and stuff like that. But when it comes to a luncheon and they're talking about Nellie Fox and Minnie Minoso and guys like that going to the Hall of Fame, it's just, it's amazing how they unveil themselves. And these are really, really powerful men that you want on your side.
And well, they're on Nellie Fox's side for sure. The motorcade now going through Greektown on its way to the Loop, and you see all of the World Series merchandise that got scooped up so quickly. All of those shirts and jackets and the caps, the new era caps, and you know, and for this celebration, because it has been a first-in-a-lifetime kind of experience, and I can sense that the fans who are down on LaSalle Street and down at the rally can feel that the players are getting closer to them and to the rallying point at first at the Board of Trade and then downtown at that intersection there at LaSalle and Wacker, and so many brooms up to sweep. You know, there should be some wires up too, Bill, because this team led wire to wire, just the 5th team to do that and go on to win the World Series. The 90 Reds, the 84 Tigers, the 55 Dodgers, the Brooklyn Dodgers. And you think that back to the beginning of the season when the White Sox had a lead in, what, 37, 38 straight games, and we made the illusions at the time that the record they were breaking was that of the 55 Brooklyn Dodgers, and that team won the World Series. And here we are months later, and the White Sox have done the same thing. The 27 Yankees, the only other team to do that. So 5 teams led wire to wire and won the World Series. And I'm not sure that, certainly the White Sox of this year don't have the cachet of those 27 Yankees. I'm not sure that the 55 Dodgers team is the Dodgers team that everybody remembers. People do remember the 84 Tigers for that scintillating start that they had. I think it was 35 and 5. Jack Morris throwing a no-hitter that April at Comiskey Park. The 90 Reds are a largely invisible, unmemorable team, except that they upset the Oakland A's in the World Series there. Jose Rio, I think, was on that team and had a brilliant year in the postseason. And now the White Sox will be talked among them, and maybe it will take a second trip to the World Series and or playoffs, another year similar to this one to prove that this wasn't just a great team of a single season, but can be a great destiny as well. Pat Boyle, the guys are getting closer to you now.
Yes, the guy, Senator Barack Obama, has made his way here to the podium area. He has a White Sox cap, went right down the Wacker Drive and started fist pumping and handshaking his constituency, and certainly enjoying the moment. As we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the White Sox undefeated since the Senator threw out the first pitch. I mean, as we talk about what this means for this city and what it means to these players, think about what it means to other cities around the country envious of this situation, and other professional athletes that may end up or spend part of their careers in this city. I think it means something when you work in an area that is passionate about something, no matter what line of work you do. And if you're a professional athlete, to come and play in this town where you know people breathe, eat, and sleep what you do, and they come out like this. I mean, guys, we know certain championship teams that have parades in parking lots around their stadium.
Yeah.
Not exactly the most glorious way to go out, but this is just a sight to be seen. I hope those that are watching on Comcast Sportsnet just soak up the moment. If you're in a classroom somewhere in the Chicagoland area, or in Iowa, or Wisconsin, or Indiana, where our viewing area is, thank your teacher. This is a history lesson.
Absolutely it is, and a music lesson as well. We're hearing so many great songs about Chicago. We're seeing that we have our priorities pretty close to an order. And, you know, I mean, famous shots like the L, the Board of Trade, the river, the various neighborhoods, Greektown. And, you know, we've seen, when we've watched other teams that are sort of new to the ball game, I mean, the Marlins have won 2 championships. The Diamondbacks have won a championship. And I've never attended a game with a major league team in the major league ballpark in Phoenix. I've been to the minor league park. But I've been to games in Florida, and even though they filled the place for those 2 championships, you know, it's not, it clearly isn't the fan base that has the sincerity or the passion or the history that this one does. And how many times a season has ended, and I've looked at, you know, fellow Chicagoans and native Chicagoans who have said to them, how come not us? We care so much, and these Johnny-come-latelys win. And it's really reflective of that. And it's somewhat surprising to me that that hasn't translated necessarily into more and more free agents or ball players in any sport wanting to come and be a part of this level of enthusiasm in a way that would translate to more winning clubs, because it would seem to me that the fanaticism, the passion, just the depth of people that we're seeing here would inspire a team to more championships, and it certainly did this year. And here comes one bout of confetti here, even though the players are not yet on LaSalle Street, Bill.
Well, an honest answer to this, if I'm a former player, if I'm a player looking at this, I'm going to go where the money is. I mean, I'm not going to care about ticker tape parades. I mean, that's just the honest answer to it. But what I've always said, being from California, was, you know, out in California, they embrace their actors and actresses. Those are their celebrities. Sure. In the Midwest areas and the East Coast, it's almost the same way. Let's say in New York, they got the models and everything. They have different things to embrace. Seems like in the heartland of the country, we'll talk about Chicago itself, they seem to embrace all their athletes. It doesn't make any difference what sport. Their athletes are their celebrities. This is the people that they care about. These are the people that they embrace. These are the people that they'll spend their money on and go out and see. And that's where you see the passion of sports. You know, a lot of it has to do with, in some parts of the country, when you talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks, that parade, you could have wrapped that up in a Wheaties box, no pun intended, with Mark Burley on it, but that was about it. They don't have a passion for something. I mean, hey, it's too bad they were only in the league 2 years before they won. Same thing with the Marlins, but this is what really, I mean, this is what it really is all about for an athlete. Now, would he go to Arizona for money, or would he come to Chicago for a parade? Well, he's going to Arizona for the money. That's why you can't...
Or because he lives there and he can have his family nearby.
It's tough to build the dynasties in the middle of the country when you can go to warmer climates, I guess is what I'm saying.
We are here in the studio. We have crews out on the field as well. Pat Boyle, Kerry Sayers are at the rally endpoint. Mitch Robinson is along the parade route. The last we saw was the motorcade making its way towards downtown, about a mile away or so. And Gail Fisher started us off at U.S. Cellular Field, where this motorcade got started. And at that time, as Ozzie Guillen boarded the bus, he had a few words.
What is it like to be a king of Chicago today?
Well, you know, I'm just excited for the people here. I think, you know, people wait so long for this thing to happen, and believe me, you know, it's just something real nice. I think it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and a good thing we get it done.
Has it really hit you yet that you are world champion? Has it sunk in?
No, well, you know, I just type of easygoing guy. You know, I think after I saw yesterday people when we land and all the people were excited, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to happen right now.
What do you want this team to be most remembered for?
They was the team players. They grinded. They play every day. They show to the ballpark, and they play the best they can to make this thing happen.
Talk about the love of these White Sox fans.
Huh?
Talk about the love you guys are getting from the Sox.
Well, finally, we do something for them. You know, they've been supporting this ball club for so many years, and finally, they wait for so long. And, you know, thank you for the patience, and, you know, enjoy this.
Well, I certainly hope that the fans are enjoying this, the players are enjoying this. I think that was we saw a marching band there moments ago. I believe that's the Dunbar Vocational High School marching band and drill team. Kerry Sayers is at the end point where that marching band is moving towards, and the players are moving towards her as well. Kerry, what's the latest near you?
Josh, I think that was you sending it to me. We're shooting right now, if you can see, a mailman running up the street, and there is quite the story behind this. Basically, what happened was the gentleman was across the street, and all I could see was a U.S. Postal Service mail bag in the air. Well, it turns out nothing stops the U.S. Postal Service, apparently, including a ticker tape parade for the new World Series champion. He climbed through the crowd, climbed over the barricade, and then had his bags passed up to him, and he was here for a good 8 minutes waiting for that third bag to come up. And just seconds ago, you might have seen that he finally got the last bag, put it all on a cart, and headed his way up the street to cheer.
Well, that's finally a team the White Sox couldn't stop, Bill, the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah, I thought they were sending some mail right to these guys. I mean, they're not even taking it to their doors anymore. They're bringing it right to the site.
Yeah, not snow nor sleet nor the White Sox ticker tape parade. There's snow made out of paper, and there goes one of the cannons again as we look back down LaSalle Street from Wacker Drive and the end point of this rally towards the Board of Trade at the other end, where really momentarily now I would think the players should be getting off those double-decker buses and into the next stage and next wave of what this parade and motorcade will be and will look like. Pat Boyle, what is the view from your vantage point?
It's simply awesome here as we wait for their arrival here at Wacker and LaSalle. The men and women in blue, Chicago Police Department out in force as the motorcade makes its way to its final destination. Just a couple points here. The city anticipates 13 tons of confetti to be spilled out onto the streets. All this confetti will end up at a resource management in Chicago Ridge for recycling, so that is good news, but it's certainly going to be a tremendous cleanup effort once this thing is all said and done. Maybe they can use some of those brooms that they had for the sweep against the Astros to help clean this thing up.
Sounds like a good idea. Put those to another use. It looks to me, Pat, as looking at the pictures here, that the southbound lanes of LaSalle are all filled with people, so that they have to be 15 or 20 deep as the band and eventually the parade will come down the northbound lanes. Is that accurate?
I would say even more. I'd say
really?
About 40 deep. Yeah, this is simply awesome. So many people talk about the second dog in this town as far as praise goes, as far as the baseball team. They are top dogs on this day. There's no question about it. This is an absolutely amazing scene to see all this confetti spill out onto the streets and these double-decker buses. And members of this organization, you know, as Bill was saying, these guys represent the 2005 team, but they represent everybody who's played since that 1917 club, everybody that strived for this goal, everybody that works hard, and just fun to be a part of it and to see it.
You think about the history of the White Sox and, you know, of course, the 1919 team, which could have won, should have won the World Series were it not for scandal, and probably should have won the next year as well, and didn't get back to the World Series. And then, of course, that team broke apart with the trial and the subsequent banning from baseball of the 7 conspirators and Buck Weaver, who was guilty by association. Kerry Sayers is not far from you, Pat. Kerry, you were in the middle of a story when we left you last.
Yes.
Okay, well, Kerry, are you there now?
There we go.
Okay.
As you can see, the Dunbar Music Academy is just passing by, and the fans, Josh, are kind of raising their levels to fever pitch now because they know it won't be long now before the White Sox will be arriving. This is just, of course, the start of what will end with the victory rally at the stage. Pat's been setting the scene here. Pat was mentioning the police force. I've been told that there are anywhere from 2 to 3 members from each tag team from each district. He's estimating somewhere in the range of over 2,000 police on hand for this event. And as you can see, once again, we've got the Dunbar Music Academy walking by now. Some other students walking by as well. Everyone, again, getting excited because they know this is the start of it. I'm looking, people are now positioning themselves with their cameras. Of course, the police following along the parade route. Everyone, again, trying to get as high as they can up on at their view on stanchions. And we'll keep you updated as more happens this way.
Okay, and the tape coming now down from on top of the buildings as opposed to from the windows, because the windows, as we've mentioned, most of the windows on this building are sealed. And that looks to be the beginning of the parade there. Indeed, confetti being shot off now from the cannons over the Dunbar Vocational Marching Band and drill team. And the cheering has begun, and we see the confetti and the ticker tape flying, and we're going to join Mitch Robinson momentarily in the midst of all of this. as we see fans decked out in the black and white, so dressed to the nines, we might say, right? And we don't see any tuxes or tails or anything like that. People watching from the roof of the Westin Hotel just across the river. Mitch Robinson, it's all moving towards you now. What's happening?
Well, Josh, it's great now. It's a steady stream of paper, shredded paper just falling from the buildings, the rooftops. Actually, a lot of people have suddenly appeared on rooftops throwing out all kinds of shredded paper. And as the vehicles slowly approach right over my right shoulder, you can see, as it began with the Dunbar Band, the crowd, block by block, going into a frenzy. And this is definitely what everyone's been waiting hours to see. This family and friends, sponsors for the White Sox on these front ones, which is, I'm sure, thrilled for the kids to be a part of this.
Yeah.
The players closing in quickly behind as everyone keeps looking down the street of LaSalle. We're about midway on Randolph, and it is just a wild scene with people all just hitting their thunder sticks, screaming, much like what you guys are seeing at the end where Pat and Carey are staged out. The vehicles taking their time, making it nice and slow, so everyone gets, a shot with their camera phones, regular phones. And, when Bill Melton mentioned it yesterday, that when you're looking at these guys live, or it might have been William Jackson, that, you look at them and for a split second, you know that, or you hope that they saw you, and and then a moment you remembered. So that's what's going on out here at Randolph. It's like a snowstorm. It's actually makes you want to put on your skis. Josh?
Mitch, the stretch is what, a mile from Jackson to Wacker? A little less?
Yeah, exactly. So once they pass me, you're in the home stretch. It won't take long at all till they get to the podium. And then the real program begins when all the dignitaries and, of course, the people you're waiting for, your MVP, Jermaine Dye, your Paul Konerko, and the rest of your Sox greats get up on stage and greet this crowd and the city and thank them for a year. And then we get ready for spring training.
Yeah.
And look forward to that and for it all to start again.
Yeah, it'll be a short off season for the White Sox because they had such a long postseason. We just saw the sign there that said Grinder Rule 162. There were 174 rules. That's how many games the White Sox played as they win the World Series this year in 4 games over the Houston Astros. Pat Boyle, let's rejoin you.
Yeah, I just saw that Grinder Rule too. I think no truer words were ever printed or said, that the only acceptable crying in baseball is with that champagne in your eyes.
Yes.
As we saw plenty of that earlier this week in Houston. This thing beginning to crescendo as we've got the Thunderstruck being played, of course, one of the common songs we hear down at U.S. Cellular Field. And we've got Nancy Faust. She'll be ready to tickle the ivories and get things going as Patrick Blackwell will sing the national anthem, and then we're expecting that F-16 flyby. Talk about getting thunderstruck.
Yeah.
The thousands and thousands that line these streets will certainly feel that as those engines reverberate and create quite a stir among the fans. And
gosh, what that feeling must feel like to be coming down this street in an open-air car with the confetti raining down on you. I mean, this was a treat that was reserved in the past for national heroes, for astronauts and world leaders and veterans, and it's become a tradition to bestow it upon athletes over the last 30 or 40 years or so. But still, I mean, when you think about the elite company that this kind of celebration puts you in, and what a warm and feeling of accomplishment this must be for all of the players.
Josh, we always ask these players, how do you feel at this moment? Has it sunk in yet? And I think the common thing was, no, it had not sunk in. I think as they make their way through the streets of Chicago on this beautiful Friday afternoon, it will sink in that they are world champions and that all that hard work, all the blood, sweat, and tears that they put together is finally paying off. Let's listen as Nancy Faust plays Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Let's listen in.
Celebrate the world champion Chicago White Sox with the official World Series bat. Each bat features the facsimile signatures of the White Sox players, laser engraved in the bat. To order, call 1-866-280-BATS or log on to IGottaHaveThat.com.
In 1987, the Chicago Bulls went 40-42. The very next year, the team won 50 and began a sellout streak that lasted 13 years. Last season, the Bulls battled back from an 0-9 start to capture the third-best record in the Eastern Conference. With amazing team play and suffocating defense, the Bulls are poised for their next great run to the top. Don't get shut out this time, because this season, you gotta be there.
Baseball fans, celebrate the Southsiders 2005 World Championship by picking up your authentic headwear. Now available thanks to New Era at locations around U.S. Cellular Field. Just look for the New Era road vehicle, the grandstand on 35th, or visit NewEraCap.com.
The prestige, the thrill, poker on TV. And it's not just for professionals anymore. This fall, the Heartland Poker Tour brings real action, serious cash, and everyday people together on a televised stage. Each week, join hosts Chris Hansen, Fred Bevel, and their friend Katie O'Keefe as they travel the country covering poker tournaments with players just like you. It's the Heartland Poker Tour.
The Heartland Poker Tour, Sundays at 9, only on
As the leader in high-speed internet, Comcast knows broadband better than anyone. So Comcast Workplace gives your business speeds up to 7 meg and state-of-the-art security features. All from a company you can count on, day in and day out. When Comcast comes to work, everything simply works.
TBS and Comcast want you to get a great workout without even hitting the gym.
You can shop online. Oh, no. Shopping is my cardio.
Log on to Sex and the City on TBS.com and enter the Shopping is My Cardio sweepstakes. The grand prize winner will receive a $2,000 gift card to use during a fabulous heart-pumping shopping spree. Don't miss Sex and the City, Tuesdays at 8 and Wednesdays at 9 on TBS.
Boyle, you're at the end of the rally, and the anticipation has to be growing because with the players, we see them now on their way. Freddie Garcia and Jermaine Dye in this lead, Tim Raines in this lead bus.
That's right, Josh. I'm waiting to hear Twist and Shout and see Matthew Broderick on top of a car dancing like he did in Ferris Bueller. There you can see the southpaw and some of the players make their way through here as they just have to be overwhelmed by this.
Yeah, it's Harold Baines is on this as well as Mansoon Lee. We mentioned Freddie Garcia and Jermaine Dye. Timo Perez is on that bus as well, and the others will follow. Mitch, the players have to be moving past you now. Joe Creedy, Jeff Blum. Go ahead, Mitch.
Guys, the loudest applause for Joe Creedy and company just now. Orlando Hernandez holding out the cigar, waving to the crowd. Cliff Polite on this one. Scott Podsednik getting a huge applause right now. Juan Uribe as well. The Sox all enjoying the moment. It's thoroughly an exciting spot. Following up, Carl Everett leading us this last, second to last trolley. And Mark Burley getting huge applause. As you would expect, they love Burley in this town.
Oh, look at the smiles on their faces, Mitch. I mean, and the genuine appreciation they seem to have for this moment.
Ozzie Guillen and Paul Konerko in the last one, and they're going nuts for Ozzie. The Ozzie chant. Much beloved Ozzie Guillen in town.
Oh, what a thrill it is for him. I mean, you know, 20 years ago, the Rookie of the Year, plays almost his entire career with the White Sox. Mitch, go ahead.
It's been amazing for him, and Frank Thomas also on that one. And, you know, Frank, even though he didn't get to play much this season, still very much part of the celebration. He's been through all the rough years with the Sox, so that was amazing, though. And And if I didn't even answer correctly, if you asked me a question, Josh, it's because they were cheering so loudly for Ozzie and Paul Konerko. But it's truly it is an incredible sight to see right now. What a great time.
Oh, the cheers getting incredibly loud now, and the confetti coming out now in all colors as well. This is what the fans have been waiting for since 7 in the morning and 8 in the morning and since 1918.
Well, just surprising to me how fast they can put something like this together and how successful it is already. And they haven't even really reached the podium, but the crescendo, the stars that stand up like Mark Burley, you know, one of the fan favorites, been here for 5 years, always a fan favorite. You look at Frank Thomas, and of course Ozzie Guillen started his career 13 years with the White Sox. Now he manages them to a World Series. I mean, how good does it get?
Not better than that, that's for sure. Kerry Sayers, you're up.
Well, right now the fans are chanting Creedy. I've got a bus that's got Luis Vizcaíno, Joe Creedy up front with Jeff Blum. Of course, one of the many heroes for the White Sox during the World Series. Got another one right in front of me. Scott Podsednik and his fiancée, Lisa Durgan, taking in the sights. The players have plenty of their own cameras, too, enjoying the scene as they go by. On the other side of Scott, we've got Bobby Jenks. Wow, what a wild ride for the rookie. And I heard Pat talking about it earlier. We've talked so much about how this must feel to the fans. But for the players, this has to be the moment. Another moment that they take with them and that they can finally, they don't have another game to look forward to. There's Carl Everett, the fun of the next bus, Neil Kotz, Mark Burley. I know you saw him a while ago, Mitch, and this is a moment where they don't have another game to look forward to. They can drop the business-like mentality and just soak this all up. And let me tell you, it is amazingly loud. These fans are just so excited. It's unbelievable. They're chanting Ozzie now. We're taking out a shot of Penny Williams, of Frank Thomas, of Ozzie Guillen, and all of Ozzie's family. We saw his sons, longtime executive for the White Sox, Roland Heeman. He's been with them for so long. And then Dustin Hermanson at the back of the bus in front of me. This guy may not even be playing next year, as he said to us after they won the World Series. We've got John Garland, of course, who had such a breakthrough season. It's amazing what the expectations were for him at the beginning of the season and what he was able to do. El Duque and Jose Contreras side by side in their bus, and both of them just soaking it up. Saw El Duque with another cigar in his mouth, and the guys have had so many opportunities to have the victory cigars and the bubbly. I think they've had enough champagne in the last month to last a lifetime.
Here's Neil Kotz with...
Exciting now, the ticker tape just crowding the streets. And guys, we'll be back with you in just a little while. It's getting to be hard to see here with all the ticker tape floating through the air, guys.
All right, Kerry, we just saw Paul Konerko. Neil Kotz was with Mark Burley, and we see the snowstorm of paper coming down, and the players really genuinely appreciating this moment. I think what our reporters down there are all alluding to is that this is the moment when, I mean, they know that there are Sox fans here, but this is the moment where they realize the depth and the breadth of the passion for baseball and their team and what they do in this town. Pat Boyle, the players are getting to you at the end point here where the rally will be.
That's right, Josh. You know, as I see these players go by, and I think back to the, you know, other championships in town where, you know, Michael certainly, and deservedly so, received so much praise. This one is, you know, this is one where, you know, it was the epitome of a team. So we see just about every one of the guys on that playoff roster with some fan out there holding a sign that represents their name. Each one of these guys, so much a part of it, with Willie Harris scoring the series clinching run, the unlikely people. And I think it's also important that they have their family members and their loved ones up on those double-decker buses with them, because Bill Melton knows the sacrifice that these families make for these guys, certainly during the season, that 6 or 7 month period from the time they leave Tucson and whether or not the family travels back to Chicago with them. The kids might be in school in Arizona, or they might be in school back here to start the school year. You know, people are split up. The guys are on the road for over 3 months alone, and it's a difficult time. It's phone calls at midnight or 2 o'clock from Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City, Anaheim, wherever. And these guys certainly make the sacrifice on the field. The family members make the sacrifice in the homes, and we always know and realize, you know, just how important it is to keep that family unit together, and how difficult it is when two people are apart for so much time. And it's got to be a tremendous moment for these family members to realize the appreciation that these fans have for their husbands and boyfriends, and also getting some kudos for the part that they played in this.
Yeah, there's no question about that, and the sacrifices these guys make, Bill.
Well, I think one of the toughest decisions, Pat, and you touched on it as far as family, when an athlete is done, a lot of times it's physical, but most of the time it really has to do with family. I mean, when family enters it and you feel like you've given all you can give on the field or the court or on the ice, wherever you're at, I mean, the one thing that will come in and ultimately make you make that decision is family. You're tired of being away. You're watching your kids grow up. Your kids are asking more and more for you. So other than the physical aspect of, you know, maybe some bad knees or a bad back where you can't compete anymore, and it's too much to get it back together for each spring training, then it really evolves to the next question, where's the important part of life really? And it's really all about your family. It's time to go home. So that ultimately is the final decision that a player will make, and generally it has to do a lot to do with being away from his family long enough, whether it's Frank Thomas for 15 years now, whether it was Ozzie Guillen for 13 or 14. You got to have a tremendous love for this game to get back in it and do what all our coaches are doing, do all the things that Ozzie's doing. These guys are passionate for their game, and they, you know, for the love of the game, their families truly understand, and they really have to. Ozzie's very fortunate his boys are with him. I mean, they're interpreters on our ball club, so if you can get that part of it, get them involved, that's just terrific. But Ozzie's been very much a part of his family, and that's hard to do. I mean, it's probably one of the toughest things, but all these coaches like Harold Baines and Joey Cora, they bring their families in for the summer, but understand spring training, they might bring them in for 2 or 3 days. They're down there for like 7 or 8 weeks, and then the season is 6 months. They'll come in for the summer because kids have to go to school, whether it's Joey Cora or you know, Harold Baines, and you talk about Tim Raines or Art Kushner out in the bullpen. A lot of sacrifice to get to this point, but obviously if you're sitting on that bus and you're a spouse, this is well worth it.
What we've just seen, too, is LaSalle Street opened up so that the fans who were lining the streets could fill in the empty spaces behind the buses and trolleys and move closer to the rally platform while the players now get off the buses and we assume will ascend the podium here, several of whom will speak. Kenny Williams, yeah, short speeches. Kenny Williams will speak. Ozzie Guillen, of course, will speak. Ozzie Guillen doesn't usually give short speeches, but I'm sure that he'll have plenty poignant things and passionate things to say as well. Pat, is it all, we see a lot of police presence there. Is it all, I presume it's all safe and that the fans are now safely in line to view the podium?
Hey guys, down here the men and women of the police department have basically made a semicircle now around the stage. I just saw 2 firefighters who literally look like they just came off their shift. They look like they have soot still on their clothing from what they had to do. This is a collaborative effort as this whole city comes together to celebrate this team. Now the police department is bringing the perimeter in and allowing the fans to now encompass the stage as the police department is arm in arm. Some over 2,000 men and women who protect us each and every day, making sure things go in an orderly fashion on this beautiful Friday afternoon as we celebrate the 2005 World Series champion. This is just tremendous, guys. I mean, I thought it was amazing being a part of a 14-inning affair and to be able to cover that, or to see guys pour champagne over their heads and carry that World Series trophy around. But to see, because so many times, you know, we think, well, is it the 28,000 fans that are at the cell on a Wednesday, or is it the 41,000, or is it the ratings, the people that watch Comcast Sportsnet? You know what? It's so much more. You know, you've got the people that watch via the internet, people that read it through the Trib and the Sun-Times, and all these different ways that they keep up with their team. The men and women that fight for our country that are White Sox fans right now,
Pat,
in a war.
To the people that we've already interviewed who have come up from Texas and Gainesville and Nebraska that we've already had just during this hour and a half, 2 hours of broadcast time.
And I think, you know, this is something for all of us to soak up and remember, just how many people from all walks of life care about this team and care about sports. And one thing that a playoff run does is it does bring in the fringe fan. It does bring in someone who maybe doesn't put the top priority of watching, you know, Hawk and DJ call a game on a Wednesday night, but they have civic pride, as Bill Melton has mentioned a couple times this afternoon. But we are waiting now for the official program to start down here, just to kind of give you an overview of what it's going to be. Gene Honda will welcome and introduce some of the members. Chicagoan Patrick Blackwell will sing the national anthem. Then we'll have that F-16 flyby, some fireworks, which certainly has been a common theme on the South Side for many years now. We'll have a video, and that'll be titled Rally Intro. Then they'll play that Thunderstruck anthem that we've heard so many times. Gene Honda will then introduce Hawk Harrelson, the voice on television for the Chicago White Sox for oh so many years. He will also help introduce John Rooney, who called his final game this week after 18 years of service as play-by-play man on the radio. And they'll get into the festivities at that point. Mayor Daley will speak, Ken Williams, and then we'll get into each player and scheduled to talk to the White Sox faithful on this afternoon. Aaron Rowan, Joe Creedy, A.J. Przinsky, Jose Contreras, Mark Burley, Paul Konerko, the MVP of the World Series, Jermaine Dye, along with Ozzie Guillen to round things out. And then there will be some fireworks, and they'll play the last song. It'll be Let's Go, Go, Go White Sox. So
Sure.
I know that's a song that touches your heart, Bill Melton.
Yeah, that's the one song that I can truly say I know. I mean, I don't listen to a lot of music, but that song, that theme of that song rattles through my head for the last 40 years.
Well, we're waiting now as basically all the cameras and people that have been following the members of the motorcade are getting in line right now and maneuvering. I'll tell you guys, for an event that seemed to pop up out of nowhere, this is being run very, very orderly by the city of Chicago. As I mentioned earlier, they were thrust into action because of the shortness of that series and how they had to plan this. I know it took quite an undertaking technically for our staff here at Comcast Sportsnet to get cameras and microphones and people in position up and down the parade route. We salute them on this day, but tremendous kudos have to be paid to the Chicago Police Department and the mayor's office for rallying together and getting this thing done, as I mentioned, in a Scott Posednik speedy manner.
Yeah, well, there's a reason they call this the city that works. You know, this isn't, right? I mean, this isn't, you think about the bets that Mayor Daley has won. He gets, what, seafood and lobsters from Boston? I don't remember what he's getting from Anaheim.
You know, as clean as this city is, this will be, you won't even know there was a parade by tomorrow.
Oh,
probably later on this afternoon, you won't even know it.
I heard that the bet that Mayor Daley won from Houston was he gets a trip to Houston to sample their restaurants. Like you'd leave Chicago to go to Houston for restaurants.
A theater. I think it had to do with a theater
Is that right?
district, yeah.
As someone who just visited Houston and did not get to partake in too many of their eateries, I don't know if the mayor will actually come through and have to honor that bet. I don't know if he'll want to head down there. Certainly, he could spend the next 10 years and go to a different restaurant in this city and have probably 10 times the meal he'll have down in Texas.
Absolutely. Well, you didn't exactly have the best timing down there in terms of, you know, getting out of the ballpark at, what, 3 in the morning the one night practically, and probably not much earlier than that. And there's Steve Perry from Journey, who, of course, did the theme song almost 25 years ago on the Escape album. Don't Stop Believing, that this team has, out of nowhere, adopted. I mean, there's such an odd twist to that story, Pat, that you've been following for the past several weeks.
You know, guys, as we see Steve Perry, you have to think that maybe, you know, VH1 is somewhere around here. They're going to have to update his story a little bit, as his 15 minutes of fame have run into overtime thanks to these 2005 Chicago White Sox. It's beginning to build here as the folks around here realize it's about to go down on the stage. Steve Perry, you know, I mentioned it the other night when we were wrapping things up in Game 4, how much he kind of relaxed these guys. It was always interesting to me that this team that never seemed to be caught up in the moment allowed some of these outside influences affect them. I think, you know, Steve Perry was just another one of those vehicles, a guy to bring out there during the warm-ups to laugh and joke around with and not have to really think about too much about what was actually going on in the field and the magnitude of what they were going to accomplish later that night.
Well, and Pat, how great for the White Sox PR staff, and what a tremendous job by them to be able to contact him. You know, not that he's out there touring like U2 anymore, but to be able to find him, locate him, and get him involved in this. And that's not that easy to do. A lot of those guys don't want to be found or aren't easy to find, and he quickly embraced the opportunity as well.
I think he now has a GPS connected to the Three Stooges. I think he's in dead lockstep with these guys. And now the players are beginning to make their way. Big Frank, Carl, and company making their way to the stage. And our own Kerry Sayers is getting in position. I can see the World Series trophy. Let's Go White Sox is beginning to play in the background. Let's listen in a little bit here and enjoy some of this atmosphere, guys. Kerry Sayers is also down here and is making her way through the fans. What do you have for us, Kerry?
Pat, it's pretty amazing after what we just saw with the ticker tape parade. Now, as we look around, I'm in the media pit in front of the stage. There are people standing on top of every single building within the circumference here, on top of the Merchandise Mart, on top of the Chicago School, and then to my left, on top of the Westin, and on top of buildings, at the top of parking garages. People are everywhere, and the crush of people, as you mentioned, as the police brought people in to close in their distance to the stage, it's pretty amazing that not the support, not just along the parade route, but pretty much everywhere in this downtown area. There are people in every building, in the windows of every building, that are sitting on the ledges and competing for space, pushing each other out of the way to get a view of the players and of Ozzie and Kenny Williams as they make their way to the stage for kind of their final thank you and farewell, to put a capper on the season. It's pretty amazing just to watch the players finally be able to enjoy this moment and not have anything left to worry about other than an exciting offseason and perhaps a chance of repeating, Pat.
Well, we certainly would like that. Let's get number one under our belts first here and enjoy this one as Ozzie Guillen is wrapped with his oh, there's the Steve Perry. We knew it wouldn't be too long before we heard that. Nancy Faust begins to play that, but Ozzie Guillen probably will make his way back to Venezuela in not too far future. Let's listen a little bit to the song that has been so much a part of this team all year long. Don't Stop Believing, Journey, Steve Perry.
time for monster markdown madness at Bob Roman's Libertyville Mitsubishi. Get any new 05 or 06 with record-breaking low prices.
Gas comes standard when you get a great deal on any remaining 05 Mitsubishi. That's a new car with a 10-year warranty and get free gas for a year.
There's only one, Bob Roman.
You owe it to yourself to see us at Bob Roman's Libertyville Mitsubishi on Milwaukee Avenue, Libertyville.
It's like a real party when we go to the Wolves game.
Shoots, he scores!
You feel like you're really a part of the game, and it's just a really great time to enjoy with your friends.
Be there for all the excitement this Saturday at 7 as the Wolves host the Iowa Stars. The first 5,000 fans receive a Wolves magnet schedule courtesy of Pepsi.
Chicago Wolves, it's really not much more money than going to see a movie with your friends.
For tickets, call 1-800-THE-WOLVES.
It's my kind of hockey.
It took more than makeup, costumes, music, and lights to get me on stage. It took the gift of an organ donor.
Nobody said it was easy. It's such a shame for us to part.
Be an organ donor, because life does go on.
So the song dies down, but the party continues down here as the players, Ozzie and Kenny, make their way to the stage. And think about all the folks that are looking out from the office buildings, the thousands that surround now the corner of Wacker and LaSalle. And I can look up some 40 stories and see people on the rooftops enjoying this sun-drenched day. And I have to tip our caps to the White Sox. I thought they were going to get here a lot later than they did, but after taking off a little tardy from their original location down at U.S. Cellular, they made it here just about on time, just after 1 o'clock now Central Time. Some 53 degrees, and these folks are enjoying it. It feels like 85 and sunny in every White Sox person's fan's heart right about now.
Where are the players right now, Pat? Are they hovering around the stage there, waiting to be introduced?
They're gathering around the stage right now, and Ed Farmer, the color man and soon-to-be play-by-play voice of the Chicago White Sox, is ready to start this thing.
Ed Farmer, one of the voices of the White Sox. Welcome, Chicago, to the celebration of honoring your 2005 World Champion, Chicago White Sox. Before we get started, please remove your hats and join a distinguished performer of the lyric opera, Chicago's very own Patrick Blackwell, as we honor America with the singing of our national anthem. And be sure to look skyward for an aerial salute by the 183rd Air Wing from Springfield, Illinois, Illinois' own Air National Guard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Waiting for the Air National Guard to fly over. I'll let you folks.
How great was this World Series? Best thing I've ever enjoyed in my life. I got to tell you, from the sporting side, that's as good as it gets for all you fans, for our players, and for the city of Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present your 2005 World Champion White Sox.
White Sox, White Sox, go, go, White Sox. Let's go, 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 White Sox. We're with you all the way.
We introduce our trainer, one of the guys who keeps everybody healthy. Here's trainer Herm Snyder. Watch this video to my right. Bullpen catcher, Mansu Lee. Here's bullpen coach, Art Kushner. First base coach, Tim Rock Rain.
We can do it, Mike.
Hitting coach, Greg Walker. Third base coach, Joey Cora. The pitching coach, Don Cooper. Bench coach,
Outfielder Brian Anderson. Pitcher Brandon McCarthy. Infielder Pablo Zuna. Outfielder Timo Perez. Catcher Chris Winter. Outfielder Joe Moore. First baseman Ross Glow. Pitcher Luis Vizcaíno. Pitcher Damaso Marte. Second baseman Willie Harris. 14-inning man Jeff Blum. The left-handed gifted one Neil Kotz. The polecat Cliff Police. Pitcher Justin Hermanson. Designated hitter Carl Everett. Pitcher Jose Contreras. The tight end. Second baseman Takahiko Uguchi. The shortstop, he goes anywhere to catch one wide Uribe. 18-game winner John Garland. Center fielder Aaron Rowan. He closed it out game 4. Pitcher Bobby Jenks. The guy with the home runs in the late games and the late innings, Joe Brady. Pitcher Federico Garcia. He'll get on any way he can, A.J. Krasinski. Left fielder Scotty Sendin. He got the save in game 3 of the World Series. Lefty Mark Burley. Designated hitter Frank Thomas. First baseman Paul Konerko. The series' most valuable player, Jermaine Dye. Catcher Raul Casanova. And finally, carrying the World Series trophy from 2005, the skipper of the Sox, Ozzie Guillen. Ladies and gentlemen, to MC today's festivities, it is my honor to introduce the voice of the Chicago White Sox, the Hawk, Ken Harrelson.
Are you ready for this? Did you ever stop believing? Your 2005 World Champion Chicago White Sox, you can put it on the board. Yeah! A magical season. Nobody stopped believing. This guy did not stop believing. Our manager, Ozzie Guillen. And we've got Ozzie. I want to introduce some of our special guests with us today. The guys who did such a tremendous job and do a tremendous job on Sox Radio. You just met Ed Farmer. John Rooney as well. Where are they? Also, Norm Bobbins, Chairman and President of LaSalle Bank, the official bank of the World Champion Chicago White Sox. John Rowe, Chairman and CEO of ComEd, proud sponsor of the World Champion Chicago White Sox. Carol Forsythe, Corporate Vice President of Motorola, proud sponsor of the World Champion Chicago White Sox. And it's also my pleasure to introduce one of the biggest White Sox fans anywhere. He is CEO of U.S. Cellular, the presenting sponsor of the 2005 World Champion Chicago White Sox, Jack Rooney. Come on up here, Jack.
At U.S. Cellular, I often refer to our associates as ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That's how this year's White Sox team played all season long. Extraordinarily. And we're proud of them. Really proud of them. How about that? As a lifelong White Sox fan, an attribute that I share with Mayor Daley, I could not be more proud of U.S. Cellular's relationship with the White Sox. Our hats off to Jerry Reinsdorf and the White Sox organization. Chicago has finally claimed its long-term World Series title. And I want to extend a special thanks to the Bossers for taking such good care of U.S. Cellular Field. Thank you very much.
Jack Rooney, great Sox fan. Also, I want to bring up a guy who did something very special. He just happened to score the winning run in the fourth and final game. Willie Harris. Willie, come up here a second. Group 4! Also, I want a fellow who has been with us for 18 years. He was the voice of the White Sox on radio. As I just introduced him a second ago, I want him to come up because what a way to go out for John Rooney.
We hoped this would happen. They played from wire to wire, and your Chicago White Sox are world champions. Celebrate Chicago as only you can. Thank you very much for all your support. Ned Farmer and I have enjoyed bringing the games to you. Enjoy this great day.
Shining is giving someone a voice. With Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, you'll have the tools and flexibility to make the smartest decisions for you and your family. Because we believe your health care should stay right where it belongs, in your hands. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, shining through.
It's Max Matson Mitsubishi's Best Back Cars in the World Best Price Cars Sales Event. Every new Mitsubishi Galant, Endeavor, Lancer, Eclipse, and Spider, all priced to move now. And all with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper limited warranty, and 5-year unlimited mile comprehensive roadside assistance. Driven to thrill because the best back cars are now the best price cars at all 3 Max Matson Mitsubishi locations.
His presentation to the board was in an hour. And while he managed to keep that trying, well, he wasn't. Which is why he was pleased to discover that our selection of big and tall was not only extensive, but at prices that, well, wouldn't soak him. After all, he had enough of that for one day.
You'll find big and tall sizes at the Men's Warehouse.
You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it.
Mercury Mountaineer is first in owner loyalty 4 years in a row. Mountaineer introduced the disappearing third row seat. And now, there's roll stability control for added safety. You've got room for up to 7. And more than enough space for everything. And everybody.
Now get an 05 Mountaineer with 0% APR for 60 months. 0 down payment, 0 payments for 90 days, 0 maintenance, 0 time to wait. Plus $500 in gas.
You've got to put Mercury on your list.
You know, there's one word that defines the 2005 Chicago White Sox, and that one word, as we talked about starting last year, and it came to fruition this year, is one word, and it is passion. Passion from the owner, passion from the general manager right there, Kenny Williams, passion from his manager, Ozzie Guillen. But there's also another guy. There are many passionate Sox fans, as you all have passion too. But there's one, our next speaker, He grew up in the shadows of Comiskey Park and to this day remains one of the most loyal Chicago White Sox fans. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this big White Sox fan and our great mayor, Mr. Richard M. Daley.
Thank you, Hawk. As mayor of our great city of Chicago, I'm pleased to say 2005 world champs, the Chicago White Sox. I just want to thank Jerry, Ozzie, all the entire Kenny, the entire team, all of them. They made Chicago proud, and we look forward to another world champ. Thank you. It's my great privilege to introduce the general manager, Kenny Williams. Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You throw one hell of a party, I'll tell you that right now. Thank all of you for showing up. Excuse me, I got to do something right here. I got to hand this off to a person that's been here for 15 years. And middle of the season, we lost him, but he carried a heck of a load in the middle of his... Frank Colt, can you hold this for a minute, please?
Keep this brief, but you know, the passion is on this team like I've never seen before in my 15 years here. I thank these guys for pulling my big butt across this finish line, because I'm telling you, I've dreamed of this since day one, been with this organization, and it's finally here. Chicago should really appreciate this and understand what this is all about. I just, you know, I don't want to lose it here, but I'm telling you, this is what it's all about. This is the pinnacle. I've never seen anything like this. God bless this team. God bless Chicago. We're World Series champions, baby!
Make no mistake, this is all about you guys. All about our fans. And quite frankly, I didn't know there were this many of you out there. So we are humbled, overwhelmed, grateful, and any other thing you can tag to it. When I first sat down with Ozzie Guillen in our first conversation, I told him, listen, the people of Chicago deserve a winner. I'm personally thankful, my family's personally thankful for being a small part of helping you guys get to this point to where we're all standing out in October talking about what just happened. We played the last game of the season and we won it.
How about another big round of applause for the greatest player in White Sox franchise history, the Big Hurt, Frank Thomas. You know what happened with this ball club last year? Ozzie went to Kenny, and he says, Kenny, we got to strengthen our starting pitching. We got to strengthen our bullpen. We got to get some more speed. We got to get better defense. Know how to play this damn game. Well, he filled the whole menu. The whole menu was filled out. The greatest job of GM I have seen in 46 years of baseball. Kenny Williams.
Chicagoans love their pizza. That's why you come to Giordano's. Some for 30 years now. We use only the finest ingredients to make Giordano's famous stuffed pizza, our equally famous thin crust pizza. Plus salads, pastas, sandwiches, and more. Come on into Giordano's and celebrate 30 great years with us. Giordano's famous stuffed pizza. We made it good. You made it famous.
It's Max Matson Mitsubishi's Best Back Cars in the World Best Price Cars Sales Event. Every new Mitsubishi Galant, Endeavor, Lancer, Eclipse, and Spider, all priced to move now. And all with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper limited warranty, and 5-year unlimited mile comprehensive roadside assistance. Driven to thrill, because the Best Back Cars are now the best price cars at all 3 Max Matson Mitsubishi locations.
I'm thinking of a number between $450 and $850. Do you know what it is?
It's my credit score, and it happens to be 720. The higher my credit score, the better chance I have of saving a lot of money. Do you know your credit score? Do you know what's in your credit report? You can find out right now at freecreditreport.com. You can even print it out if you want to. How much easier could it get? Log on to freecreditreport.com. That's freecreditreport.com.
Offer applies with enrollment in Triple Advantage.
1, 2, yo.
Competition is cool, but I'll be rolling with big names.
Okay, guys, let's finish up strong.
Only live work like on demand with Comcast digital cable.
It's TV I control.
Play, stop, fast forward, rewind, or pause.
What an amazing journey. The most spring training games ever shown. 99 of the most thrilling regular season games. Yes! The most extensive pre- and post-game shows. And the most in-depth postseason coverage.
We're going to the World Series.
I don't even have the words to describe all this right now.
No other station has captured the magic of the 2005 season like Comcast Sportsnet. Congratulations from Comcast Sportsnet, the home of the 2005 World Champion Chicago White Sox.
We're going to hear from some of these guys now, and I want to bring up somebody that without him we would not be here today. A fantastic job he did coming in and saving ball games in the first half. Unfortunately, he had an injury later on, and of course he was picked up by Bobby Jinks. But right now I want to bring up Dustin Hermanson.
Well, I really don't know what to say. I thank God. I thank everyone here. You know, thank you for supporting us. And this is for the whole city, man. You guys deserve it so much. Hey, thank you for having me in your city. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And now a guy, you know, one of the reasons that this ball club won the World Championship this year, and I've seen it happen before. In fact, I saw it happen back in 1975, and our pitchers will be the first ones to tell you. Not too many balls hit the ground in the outfield this season. When you got Scott Pasetnik in left and Aaron Rowan in center and you got Jermaine Dine right, not too many damn balls hit that ground out there. Why don't we bring up right now the man who patrols center field for us, Aaron Rowan.
I just want to thank each and every person here, my teammates, all the fans who came out and supported us all year long, who didn't quit on us when we were scuffling a little bit, who kept going with us and believed that we could finish this off. And I'd like to thank Jerry and Kenny and all my teammates. I want to thank you all very much and enjoy this. We did this. This is your big part of this and why we're here. So thank you very much.
How many clutch plays has this guy made at third? How many clutch hits has this man got? A guy, I just can't imagine anybody playing a better third base. He is, again, one of the pitcher's best friends. And the clutch hitting he did, Joe Creedy.
I want to thank you guys for coming out. And my mullet. Thank you guys for coming out and supporting us, and we couldn't have done it without you guys and your support this year. The support's been great all year long, and this is for you guys. Thank you.
Tell you what, since Aaron Rowan and A.J. Pierzynski got finished with Joe, he's a different guy. And talking about Dennis the Menace, a guy who came over here, and I think I told you guys in spring training and all the way up, by the time All-Star break rolls around, you're going to love him, and indeed you have. Our catcher, A.J. Pierzynski.
Thank you guys very much. I want to thank, first of all, Kenny, obviously, for allowing me to come here. All the hours on the phone we put in together. The Three Stooges, Joe, Aaron, myself. It's been a great year. All my teammates, thank you. Ozzie, thank you for putting up with me all year. I know it wasn't easy. And to all the fans, thank you for taking me in and embracing me as one of your own. This is for you guys. Thank you.
You know, I've known AJ since he was a sophomore in high school, and believe me, he's really calmed down since that time. And for all our great Spanish fans out there, great Spanish White Sox fans, we got a guy who's the last half of the season, arguably, the best pitcher in baseball. What a job he did in keeping the staff and the wins coming. The big right-hander from Cuba, Jose Contreras. And of course, this will be in Spanish.
Thank you, Chicago White Sox. Thank you, Jose. Un saludo especial para mi Cuba Bella. I love Chicago.
This next guy has been our horse, our stud, our ace. He has gone out there year after year and been the guy that we have relied on, and boy, has he ever come through. Mark Burley.
This is the greatest feeling of my life right here, guys. I know everybody said it already, but I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming out here. From the moment I left U.S. Cellular Field to here, I had goosebumps the whole way. It's an amazing feeling. I can't even imagine, can't even explain to you guys how awesome this feeling is. And also, I don't know if you guys watch championships, the things like this, but usually a person gets up here and kind of embarrasses herself with either singing or dancing or rapping, and they really can't do it. And this whole journey thing that you guys all keep on hearing about, that's a kind of AJ, Creedy, and Rowan. And I guarantee before we get off this stage, they are going to get out here and sing it. So stay here for it. I guarantee it.
Paulie! 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 Paul Pinnacle!
All right.
Chicago! Second team, no more.
We want to thank everybody for coming out today. This was, everybody, all we've been talking about is we knew it would be a big deal, but we didn't think it'd be like this. So we want to thank everybody. This is unbelievable. And everybody's kind of gone quick up here. I'm going to take advantage of this right now. And everybody's been real happy and saying all great stuff up here, but I got to tell you, all year we had to talk, we had to listen to people out there, not here of course, but telling us that, you know, we didn't have the team to do this. You know, we're in first place at the break, and people don't want to believe. We win the division, people saying we're going to get beat by the Red Sox, the wild card. Didn't happen. We go to Anaheim, we play Anaheim, I got to hear about umpires' calls, I got to hear about all this other stuff. Didn't happen. World Series, now I got to hear about domes and all kinds of different stuff. So I'm trying to think in my mind what would make, you know, people think we're a good team. I know you guys do, but the only thing I can come up with is maybe we'll have to do this one more time next year. off the podium here, the man hasn't been up here yet. I'm probably introducing him a little bit too early, but I got to do this because I'm going to be getting out of town tomorrow, probably going back home. It's a little too cold for me here, but I got something here, Mr. Reinsdorf. Jerry, come on up here. Everybody kept asking me the last couple of days what I did with that last ball, that last out. Well, let's go into this man right here because he earned it.
We'll have Jerry back in just a moment. There are a few people that know what the emotion that he's experiencing right now. Our next guy is a fellow who came over, you know, Maglio Ordonez was a great player for this organization for many years. When he left last season, Kenny had to go out and he had to get not just a good ball player, but he had to get somebody that could fill that spot mentally, because he was going to take some heat. I don't care who you put out there. It's just like I remember a guy named Doug DeCinces when he had to take over for Brooks Robinson at third base in Baltimore. Whenever you come in for a good player, you got to take some heat. Well, he went out and he got a guy that can play and can handle it mentally. What a second half he had for us. Jermaine Dye, the series MVP.
What up, Chicago? Man, this is crazy. It's unbelievable. First of all, I just want to thank Kenny Williams and Jerry Reinsdorf for bringing me over here. Seems like just yesterday I was sitting at breakfast with Kenny Williams deciding on what the makeup of this team was going to be like, and just going through a process of making my decisions on where I was going to go, and I guess I made the right choice. I mean, I just want to especially thank the guys. Everybody worked hard from spring training on. You know, in spring training it's kind of hard to see what kind of team you're going to have, because guys, you know, only get a couple at bats, and you don't get that chance to kind of dwell together and see how each other plays. But man, this was a fun season, a lot of ups and downs, but guys fought through it. All the negativity from outside the clubhouse, we didn't let it get inside there, and we just had a lot of fun and enjoyed every minute of it. Ozzie was a great manager this year, kept us loose, kept us having fun, kept our heads up, and you know, basically just wanted us to go out there and play hard every day and give it our all, and hopefully at the end of the year we'll be right where we are right now, and that's world champions. So I just want to thank all the fans for coming out today, all your support throughout this year. This was unbelievable, and hopefully we can do this thing again next year. Thanks.
You know, my first year in professional baseball was in 1959, so I have been in professional baseball for 6 decades. I've been in the big leagues for 43 years. This is the greatest team that I have ever been associated with. This year, the greatest team in all that time. I have seen teams that on the field had more talent. But I have never seen a better team than your 2005 World Champion Chicago White Sox. And for all those Heine birds out there who didn't believe it, screw them. Also, in my time as an announcer, I have worked with 3 owners. I worked with the great Tom Yawkey in Boston. I worked for George Steinbrenner in New York. The greatest owner I have ever worked for, and the reason that so many people are so happy that this trophy is standing right here, right now, is a man who has brought nothing but championships, world championships, to the great city of Chicago. 6 in basketball, and now the world champion White Sox, chairman of the board, Jerry Reinsdorf.
25 years ago, Eddie Einhorn and our partners and I bought this team, and we had a dream. We never dreamed it would take 25 years to win the World Series, but it was worth waiting for, and I never thought it could be this good, this great, this celebration, the people that we've seen today, the love in your faces, this team of just wonderful teammates who played together. I never imagined it could be so good. But this is absolutely the most fantastic day of my life. Boston, Anaheim, Houston, they gone. And to the 25 guys in this team and the coaching staff and Kenny, and getting this ball from Paul Konerko is the most emotional moment of my life.
I've never known. You know, a lot of these players up here don't know Jerry Reinsdorf that well because they're new. I want to tell you something. The reason that they wanted to win this thing so bad for all of you out there and for Jerry is because of the passion that Kenny Williams, the general manager, has had for this game and this organization. And as I mentioned earlier, he wanted to bring in a person and people, the coaching staff, who would hurt when a ball game was lost, not walk out of that clubhouse smiling, joking, and laughing. So he did bring in somebody like that, and these players got to know Jerry through the passion of their coaching staff, general manager, and now a man who had a terrific career with us. And I remember in '03, Kenny and I talking about it, a guy who has come in here and put a new face on White Sox baseball, our great manager, Ozzie Guillen.
Whoa! This is for you guys also. And Venezuela waiting for them because they be back there. Believe it or not, that's my first time ever. I don't want to talk. It's not easy, you know. I think it's a great feeling. Believe me, thank you guys to wait that long. Thank God we did it for you guys, and we did it for Jerry. I got to thank my coaching staff. Where are they? My coaching staff, please can step over here behind me. And Hermie and Brian, they are here. Well, I got to thank this guy because they put up with a bunch of great kids. I think, believe me, it was a hard work. The players, it was really easy to manage this team because I know they show up. Remember when I say if we lose this thing, blame it on me. The reason I say that is just because every day, guys, they show up to play. Good times, bad times, great times. They take one game at a time. They don't get too high. They don't get too low. They went out and busted his tail. Good thing we did it for you guys. Believe me, it's a great feeling. I'm being a couple parades and a couple World Series, but this is the best fans I ever see in the street today in Chicago. When we put this team together, when I told Kenny what kind of team we should have in the clubhouse, I know we're going to make it happen. But I never believed it's going to be so fast for me to be a world champion manager in 2 years. One thing I got to tell you right now, I will be back next year. I love you.
I've got to, before we continue, I've got to have this. Ozzie Jr., One and Osney, would you come up here? I want to tell you something. As great a manager as he is, he's a greater husband and a father.
We got the Prince of South Side. My kids, they're so crazy. His favorite ball player is A.J. Persiski. How crazy you can be. And Joe Creedy. Oh my God, Jess Blum. Wow. That's the kind of house I have. All crazy. Thank you.
That is a wonderful family. And before we go, we have a very special treat for you. Because this year, this was a magical season, as we all know. And the world champions were known as the win or die trying team. They lived and played each game by the grinder rules. And as we found out late in the season, they never stopped believing. They never stopped believing in themselves or each other. Ladies and gentlemen, now to hear and to sing his hit song With You, former lead singer of the Journey, the one and only Steve Perry.
Well, I need some help up here. I want Creedy. I'm here. I want AJ. I want Roy. I want everybody around. Now, come on. Bring it on. Come on, you guys all know it. Bring it on. Everybody knows the word. Ready? I don't know the word. I want to hear this, Chicago. Yeah, we want to hear Chicago, too. I want to hear Chicago all around town. You guys ready? Yeah! Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. Come on! She took the midnight train going anywhere. Yeah! City boy. Just a city boy. Born and raised in South Chicago. Born and raised in South Chicago. Yeah! She took the midnight train going anywhere. Yeah! I sing her in a smoky room. The smell of wine and cheap perfume. For a smile they can share the night. It goes on and on and on and on. Strangers, come on, waiting. Up and down the boulevard, there's shadows searching in the night. Street lights, people living just to find emotion, hiding somewhere in the night. Don't stop believing. Come on, Chicago. Hold on to your feeling. Street light, people. Thank you, Chicago. By the way, I would say thanks for coming out today. And until we see you in the spring, your 2005 World Champions, Chicago White Sox, we gone! Let's party! Go White Sox!
And so that's the scene out at LaSalle and Wacker as 3 hours of motorcade and parade now ends with the fans cheering once again as Mark Burley hoists the World Series championship trophy following fireworks and Steve Perry and some great speeches and Ozzie coming back and of course the most poignant moment of all, Bill, Paul Konerko giving the baseball from that final out to Jerry Reinsdorf.
Well, you know, you really have to be around Jerry Reinsdorf to understand he really has a heavy passion for baseball. It is really his first love. Don't get me wrong, he enjoyed the 6 championships from the Bulls. but he also has made the statement, give me a World Series in baseball, and he finally got it. And, you know, Jerry's not a real emotional man. I mean, this guy's strictly, you know, all about business. But when you do something like that, I just can't imagine it'd be like him being maybe 6, 7, 8 years old, receiving something from the Brooklyn Dodgers that he valued very much. But nobody really knew where that baseball was. Kind of took me by surprise. That was a nice thought by Paul Konerko, and I think that's why Jerry was so touched. That, you know, there's a lot of guys out selling these balls, and you know, 20,000 for a grand slam, X amount for the 700 home run for Barry Bonds. But really, I think that Doug Mincavius thing when the Boston Red Sox brought this issue up today, where it shows that we care about our owner. What we're going to do is Paul Konerko said, I'm going to keep the ball. You can ask where it is. You're not going to know, and I'll wind up giving it to him during this celebration. So it was a terrific tribute and salute by Paul Konerko from all his teammates that Jerry Reinsdorf mount that. That'll probably be just as important as that big trophy you're looking at for him, because that's a personal thing, and it was a very nice touch. And I guess the only thing I could wrap it up with is these guys better stick to baseball, because I think that song right there, I was waiting for the fireworks in between, but really, again, a terrific tribute by the city of Chicago. A lot of work, golly. I can't imagine bringing out those big Trinitrons and those plasma TVs and stuff, and the fireworks, setting it all up with a day-and-a-half notice or something like that. And, you know, the people all being out there, the stage set up. I don't know. You got to congratulate the city. And again, as each player talked, you could tell how appreciative they were for, one, the amount of people there, but the pageantry of the whole thing is just phenomenal.
Classy city, a classy moment, classy ball club, and a day that will be passed on from generation to generation, as we saw players to their children and fan to fan to fan as well. We're going to take a break. We'll check back in with all of our correspondents who are out there amidst this throng at LaSalle and Wacker in the rally for the salute to the Sox, the 2005 World Series champions. More after this.
Celebrate the world champion Chicago White Sox with the official World Series bat. Each bat features the facsimile signatures of the White Sox players laser engraved in the bat. To order, call 1-866-280-BATS or log on to IGottaHaveThat.com.